From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I am Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. The Supreme Court has ruled that former President Donald Trump has partial immunity in his federal election interference case. While the charges would not be dismissed, some actions related to his core presidential duties are off limits to prosecutors, the justices ruled. Chief Justice John Roberts said lower courts must determine which conduct Trump can be prosecuted for, highlighting that presidential acts cannot be criminalized. The court's decision means further proceedings are needed to decide if Trump's interactions with state election officials and private parties are protected. Justice Sotomayor, dissenting, criticized the ruling. She argues that it undermines the principle that no one is above the law, with this decision making the president a king above the law. This verdict is now supposed to delay the trial, which is unlikely to conclude before Election Day in November. The ruling, seen as an election year boost for Trump, has spotlighted the Supreme Court's conservative majority, including 3 Trump-appointed justices. President Joe Biden's campaign advisors told TV channels the ruling does not change the facts about what happened on January 6, 2021. In the aftermath of a contentious presidential debate last week, 72% of voters now question President Joe Biden's mental and cognitive health to lead. That's according to a new CBS YouGov poll. Calls for Biden to step aside in favor of a more viable Democratic candidate are intensifying across the political spectrum. Critics argue that Biden's recent debate performance underscores his inability to effectively challenge Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. Despite family support urging Biden to stay, doubts persist about the president's ability to lead effectively, with concerns mounting about Democratic prospects in down-ballot races. Progressive voices are emphasizing the urgent need to replace Biden to secure victory over Trump. Tensions escalated in New York City on Friday as President Joe Biden's visit coincided with a heated protest organized by the Free Palestine group Within Our Lifetime. The demonstration drew hundreds of participants and focused on advocating for Palestine and Lebanon, which Israel has occupied and targeted with American financial and political support. Protesters distributed flyers bearing the headline, "Genocidal politicians are not welcome in New York." Police intervened as the protest intensified, leading to the arrest of more than 20 demonstrators. Thousands of low-wage workers gathered in Washington, D.C. on Saturday. They're demanding more attention be given to issues relating to poverty and mobilizing 15 million low-income voters for the upcoming election. The mass Poor People's and Low-Wage Workers Assembly and Moral March on Washington, D.C. and to the polls was hosted by the Poor People's Campaign. It hopes to pressure politicians to embrace a 17-point agenda that prioritizes the well-being of the poor and working class over funding for war and militarism. Organizer Bishop William J. Barber II emphasized the voting potential of the poor, constituting 30% of the electorate and crucial in swing states. Highlighting past elections, Barber urged political attention to their concerns, including economic justice, health care, and environmental protection. It plans to influence national politics by engaging infrequent voters and delivering demands to major news networks and political conventions. Steve Bannon, the former aide of ex-President Donald Trump, reported to prison on Monday following a Supreme Court decision denying his emergency appeal. Bannon is the second former Trump aide to serve time for defying a House January 6 committee subpoena. He was convicted 2 years ago on contempt charges for refusing to testify and withholding documents. Initially delayed pending appeal, his sentence began after a recent appeal stage failed. Bannon's legal team continues to seek delays, citing unresolved legal questions. With a 4-month sentence, Bannon's appeal could extend beyond the release date. Footage obtained by Al Jazeera shows Israeli occupation soldiers using Palestinian prisoners as human shields in Gaza, forcing them to wear military clothing. The footage depicts Israeli soldiers forcing Palestinian civilians who have been taken as prisoners to search for explosives and tunnels. It also shows cameras mounted on the bodies of prisoners, allowing remote control of their movements. Meanwhile, at least 7 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli airstrikes on a house west of Rafah and another in the Darsh neighborhood of Gaza City, Wafa news agency reports. The city's Ash-Shajaiya district is experiencing intense battles as Israeli tanks surround the area, with Al Jazeera correspondents reporting civilians trapped amid the fighting. The escalation includes a broader ground invasion across Gaza, affecting Rafah and central Gaza. Meanwhile, 20 rockets were fired from Khan Yunis towards southern Israel, with some intercepted and others landing without causing injuries. This marks the largest attack from Gaza in months. Israeli strikes so far have killed 37,877 Palestinians and injured 86,969 since October 7th last year. The International Court of Justice has ordered Israel to halt its military operation in Rafah, accusing it of genocide. Palestinians endure long lines to get small food rations for entire family. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Displaced Palestinians formed long lines in Deir al-Balah to receive a little share of food distributed by World Central Kitchen on Sunday. As the Israeli blockade continues unabated across Gaza, essentials such as food and water have become increasingly hard to obtain. Flouting a UN Security Council resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire, Israel has faced international condemnation amid its brutal war on Gaza since October 7th. It has been accused of genocide by the International Criminal Court. The Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, has criticized the Israeli Consul General's remarks suggesting a Muslim occupation threat in New York. CAIR warns that such false assertions could fuel hate crimes against Muslims and Arab Americans. In an interview with the New York Post, Consul General Ophir Akunis said London, Paris, and major cities in Sweden are under radical Muslim occupation. He asked New Yorkers to wake up before it was too late. CAIR New York's executive director, Afaf Nasher, condemned these remarks, calling them incendiary and urging political and religious leaders to denounce them. The Muslim advocacy group said they echo debunked conspiracy theories about so-called Muslim no-go zones, areas of cities in Western countries where non-Muslims cannot tread. CAIR says recent incidents, including assaults on Muslim women and vandalism at a mosque in Brooklyn, underscore the real-world impact of such rhetoric. It says it welcomes law enforcement actions against perpetrators of hate crimes, but emphasizes the urgent need to combat discriminatory narratives that endanger public order. Student outcry has intensified at Harvard University following the release of findings from two separate inquiries into antisemitism and Islamophobia on campus. Tasked with investigating allegations amid tensions over Israel's war on Gaza and occupation of Palestine, both reports acknowledged a climate of discrimination and harassment on campus. However, student groups argue the investigations fail to adequately address their concerns. Jewish students say they felt marginalized over their views on Israel, while Muslim students and those advocating for a free Palestine say their voices were ignored. Calls for divestment from companies linked to Israel went unheeded. Recommendations from the task forces include anti-harassment training, faculty appointments in Palestinian studies, and policy improvements. Harvard initiated these investigations earlier this year amid ongoing campus unrest. Similar reports from Stanford University also highlight widespread concerns, which observers say underscore ongoing challenges in managing campus diversity and inclusion. Australian Senator Fatima Payman from the ruling Labour Party has been indefinitely suspended from the party caucus. This was after she backed a motion to recognize Palestine as a state earlier this week. Payman has been suspended after a conversation with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese at the official residence lodge, she told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. The motion was moved in the Senate by lawmaker Mehreen Faruqi, deputy leader of the Australian Greens Party. A young senator from Western Australia, Payman crossed the floor and supported the motion, which was blocked by the Labour-led government. It is the first time a Labour politician has crossed the floor since 1986 to support any motion while the party was in power. Oman hosted a new round of UN-sponsored prisoner swap negotiations between Yemen's government and the Houthi rebel group. Government negotiator Majid Fadail says they are demanding the unconditional release of all prisoners and abductees without any discrimination. He calls for including Yemeni political figure Mohammed Qahtan in any prisoner swap deal with the Houthis. Qahtan is a prominent figure in the Islah Party, Yemen's largest Islamic party. He is one of 4 individuals listed in the UN Security Council resolution, which mandates the release of these individuals by the Houthi group. He was detained by the Houthis in April 2015, shortly after the group placed him under house arrest. His family remains unaware of his whereabouts or condition. Since their consultations in Stockholm in 2018, the Yemeni government and the Houthis have presented lists containing more than 15,000 prisoners and detainees. The exact number remains uncertain. Yemen has seen relative calm since April 2022 in a conflict that began nearly a decade ago between forces loyal to the government and the Houthi group. The Houthis have controlled various provinces and cities, including the capital Sana'a, since 2014. A 12-year-old Muslim boy will begin classes at New York University this fall, potentially making history by becoming the youngest student ever to study there. Suborna Isagbari astounded the world by graduating from high school at a young age. He is also known for having memorized the periodic table when he was just 2 years old. With ambitions to complete a doctoral program, but he aims to graduate college by age 14. His academic journey included non-degree classes at several New York universities, alongside achievements in painting, debate, and music. His father, Rashidul Bari, teaches physics at Brooklyn Technical High School, and his mother, Shahida Bari, is an elementary school teacher. The child prodigy's early aptitude in math and physics drew attention, leading to invitations to teach at colleges in India by the age of 7. In 2016, then-President Barack Obama sent him a letter praising the bright student for his hard work and accomplishments. Thousands of visitors converged on the village of Prušac in Bosnia-Herzegovina on Sunday to celebrate the 514th anniversary of the Ajvaz Dedo festival. The festival is considered one of the largest Islamic traditional, religious, and cultural events in Europe to remember 15th century Muslim leader Ajvaz Dedo. According to legend, Dedo miraculously split a rock to provide water for the local community, symbolizing faith and divine intervention. Locals say the event not only preserves Bosnian Muslim cultural and spiritual heritage, but also fosters community unity and social cohesion. This year's event saw strong participation from Turkey, continuing a tradition of strong annual involvement. Sadık Babur Girgin, the Turkish ambassador to Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Hossein Kavazovic, the Grand Mufti, were among the notable guests. Under Ottoman rule, the region saw the integration of Islamic culture, with Ajvaz Dedo becoming a key symbol of faith and resilience. Today, the site attracts thousands of people annually, celebrating his legacy and enduring cultural ties forged during the Ottoman era. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. Your support is needed now more than ever to continue our mission of providing informative, educational, and inspiring content to Muslims in North America and around the world. Donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.